in my own hometown. Stranger.
Howdy folks, Little John here, and once again it's time for 5 on Friday. This week brought to us with the help of Dimple 15-year-old Scotch whisky. Today I want to have a bit of a chat about cleaning and sanitising. Yeah, we've all heard it, everyone talks about it. Yeah, cleaning and sanitising, it's one of the key factors in producing good beer and making sure you haven't got you haven't got problems in your batches of beer, in your brews. Avoid infections and tossing out beer, wasting your time and your money. There's lots of different opinions on exactly the best ways of doing it, the best products to use, what you shouldn't use, how to use them. So obviously anything I'm going to tell you today it's not the be all, the end all. It's not the whole picture. It's just a simple overview of what's required and the things you need to be aware of. Now, there's two things that you've really got to remember when it comes to cleaning and sanitising. That is, one, clean does not mean sanitised. And two, you can't sanitise what isn't clean. Now, they're both fairly straightforward statements, but they're very important statements, very important aspects. I say, clean is not sanitised. Clean just means dirt's gone. There's no crud there. Doesn't mean there's not, small organisms, germs, bugs, microorganisms that you can't see. And in the context of making beer, we can't have those little bugs, those organisms in your stuff that get into your beer, because they will overtake it and they will ruin your beer. Sanitised is taking what's clean and killing the bugs. So there is no bugs, so that is, it's not sterile, it stops short of sanitised is not sterile. Sterile is another step, but we don't need to go that far with your brewing. Sanitizer is fine, but it's killing 99.9% of the bugs that are there that are going to upset things. And as I say, and the whole you can't sanitise what isn't clean. Sanitizer needs a clean space to work in. If there's dirt in the presence of the sanitizer is going to work on the dirt and not kill the bugs. So you got to do those two processes. Now, what do you need to clean? You need to clean everything. Right? You don't want dirty crud touching your beer at any point. It is, if you're doing grain or you're doing partial mashes or any extracts where you're actually boiling your wort, stuff before that boil is not really so important. You can be a little bit more relaxed because the boil's going to kill anything that you do happen to put in there. But it's a good practice to make sure everything is clean. If you're using if you're using a mixing spoon, don't just drag one off the bloody floor that's got crud all over it. Give it a good clean first, and then go for it. Once you get beyond that boil and you start cooling things, like you're going into your fermenter, any transfer hoses you're using, any containers that might hold stuff, they've got to be clean and sanitised. Because at that point it's not worth it. You put in the effort, you don't want to risk it. So, like I said, there's plenty of ways you do it and plenty of things you can use. I want to quickly run through a couple of things I use, because they're simple and they're cheap, and they do the job. One, cleaning, sodium bicarbonate. For most people, the easiest way of getting sodium percarbonate is to get yourself some laundry soaker, some nappy wash, nappy sand, a generic version, whatever it is. I use the Woolworths home brand. I did use home brand. Now I think it's Essentials. The brand is now. It's I can see one. I've got one on the shelf there. I can see it. It's called Laundry Soaker and In-Wash Booster. It's about 30% sodium percarbonate, and it will work really good to clean. You need to use a little bit more of that because of that percentage. But you soak your fermenter in that overnight and give it a good rinse out with hot water. It's clean. If you soak it a second time, at that point in that sodium percarbonate for 20 minutes, and then let it air dry, it is sanitised. The problem you have with like the nappy sand is because of the fillers, you're not exactly sure what's left, and there's quite often a little bit of a film. So a lot of people don't really like to leave that film, so you need to rinse that off. And I thought I'd just use hot water out of the straight out of the hot water. It's got no bugs in it. It's quite good enough, as long as you're using that item straight away. Preferred method for that sanitising really is to use a liquid sanitiser of some kind. Star Sand, Stellar Sand, Iodofa. There's different variations from different brew shops. Broussard, Sanitise, depending on where you're getting it. But they're the same thing. They're iodine based or they're phosphoric based. Either way, they break down to inert stuff. Most sanitisers will break down to sodium peroxide and oxygen, both of which will evaporate off, and if it's left in your beer, it won't hurt your beer if you've mixed it correctly. Quite often you'll find that most of them are called a no-rinse sanitiser for that reason. So you clean with your sodium percarbonate, give it a rinse out, get your bottle just like mixed up with your sanitiser, give it a good coat, and let it sit for 5 minutes. It says 2 minutes, but don't mean 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Let it drain off and just let it dry. You'll quite often get foam left over. The foam from that sanitiser will not hurt you. You hear the expression, don't fear the foam, and you see pictures of kegs with foam snakes coming out when people are filling their kegs from the fermenter. It won't hurt you. I prefer not to have too much of it in, so I let most of it drain off, but it's fine to have a little bit extra left over. And that will kill your bugs. 1.5 to 2 minute contact time, your bugs are dead, you're fine to go. Now, you don't want to leave stuff sitting around for days and days after it's been sanitised, because you're taking the risk of getting germs in there. You want to go in pretty quickly afterwards. So something has to sit around for a while. Give another hit with the sanitiser. Let it sit for 5 minutes and drain off and dry, and go again. That spray bottle, half a litre spray bottle, that'll do me. I'll get through probably 3 or 4 brews without having to make a new batch of that up, and that'll spray whatever I need to spray. And you use about bloody 1.5 mils of sanitiser, which costs you $20 for half a litre. So it lasts for bloody ages. It's cheap as. So it's the stuff you want to be using. Because there's other cleaners. There's PBW. You can get Barkeeper's Friend, and you can use citric acid and all sorts of different stuff. But those 2 things, for me, are all I use. Well, 3. I use the Star Sand, and I do swap occasionally. About every 6 months or so, I'll swap back to the Iodofa and switch them up just to avoid getting any resistance in the bugs that are in the brewery. So that's all you need. Simple, sodium percarbonate, simple phosphoric no-rinse sanitiser, and you'll clean, you'll sanitise everything. And just by taking a little bit of time, making sure stuff's clean and sanitised, you're seriously reducing the chances of getting a bug in your brew. You're not guaranteed not to get one because they can be floating around in the air, but you're seriously reducing your chances. And there's nothing worse than getting an infected brew. Yeah, there's brewers out there too that've never had one. I've had a few over time, and generally it's been external stuff or laziness. You know, most of the time if there's been a if I had an infection, I can go back and pinpoint exactly why I've got one. You know, I missed a step, I didn't do something, I was lazy, I didn't really do it right. Okay, so that's it, cleaning and sanitising. Any questions, stick them down the bottom. You know, want to put comment about what you do, what works for you, what products you use, where you get them, stuff like that, no problem. You know, if you haven't hit the subscribe button for Little John's, hit the button down there in the corner so you get updates all the time. You know what's going on, don't miss anything. Yeah, so that's us for today. Clean, sanitised, good brewing.